it all at the same time.
I can tell you exactly, I don't know the figure, I can tell you.
So how are they gonna do that? They're just gonna say their name and read them
And
all
then
at the same
read it.
time? And then they just say, okay, congratulations.
Yeah, and then you sign it.
Okay, so did they hand these out to all of them? Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Pens up there.
well, that's their pens.
Oh, that's okay. You can
I
use
was
that.
stealing those.
Take one.
I got one, that's so good. To the adjustments, okay, that's why we got so many people here.
That's right. There we go.
I think they're all here for them, like, oh, what did we do wrong? So why do we do them first? Why do we have them number 3?
I don't know. It's
Huh?
a good question.
Do the, finish up the, public hearing first.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Yeah, the mayor's off the chain again. We'll just go rogue on her and just do number 3 first. Okay. Frank coming?
Yeah, I just saw them in there.
I just heard them.
Okay, we're.
He's out of town.
Waiting on you, Frank.
How'd you sneak in here? Hi, Julia.
Hello. I was upstairs.
Ah, I actually wanted to do things.
Okay, you ready? You might as well stay standing. Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 23rd meeting of the Sykesville Marin Town Council. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a brief moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Okay. Okay. So are there any public concerns, additions to the agenda this evening? Okay. Minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the February 9th meeting?
Yes.
Everything okay? Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the February 9th minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the minutes are approved on February 9th. Okay. All right, reports this evening. It's gonna be public safety report starting first. Chief?
Nope. Quite all right. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
We're going to talk about the public safety report for the period February 6th through February 18th. During this time frame, we had 6 assist other agencies. We had 1 accidental overdose, which was alcohol, by the way. We had 3 burglary alarms, 1 controlled dangerous substance case, 1 child neglect, 1 domestic, 1 family trouble, 225 foot patrol checks or crossing details, 5 miscellaneous calls, 1 motor vehicle collision, 1 suspicious person or vehicle, 1 theft, 5 traffic hazards, 13 traffic offenses or enforcement initiatives, which is very good considering the weather that's been lately, and 2 violations of town ordinance for a total of 267 total incidents. I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions that you have for me at this time.
Are there any questions for the chief?
I don't have any questions.
Hey, that doesn't happen often,
Ah,
right?
I'll
Everything's
take
good.
it.
Thanks for
Actually-
the great job.
Thank you. Well, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and move into a few awards I'd like to present at this time. If I could have Officer Nick Betcher come up and Officer Tony Gio. Did I mess that up, Tony? Joel, okay. I knew I was going to. He even told me his name before he walked in here, and I still messed it up. All right. These awards are for what I hope to be an annual event for both the Sworn Officer of the Year as well as the Auxiliary Officer of the Year. And first, would like to start with Officer Nick Betcher. I've actually already presented him with a certificate earlier, but I have a copy of it here. But in a sense, it says, for his outstanding performance during 2014, a year in which he led the Sykesville Police Department in motor vehicle violations issued, as well as reports written, while also taking on many more responsibilities, as well as assisting newer members of the department. Nick has done an absolutely great job for us this past year. He's done everything we've asked him to do and more, and he's been truly a leader to the newer officers, and it's a pleasure to have him, and I'm very grateful for his service. Nick? I know he'll like receiving a ribbon. He's trying to catch up with Sergeant Kilgore, who has a lot of ribbons, and so we're going to present him with a ribbon. And like I said, I presented him with the actual certificate at a private function we had earlier, so this is just a copy. But again, Nick's doing a great job, and he's a pleasure to have here in town. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you want to say hi to your parents here? Or Mom and Dad are here. Mom and Dad are in the back there. The one taking all the pictures. Thank you. We appreciate you coming. Thank you very much. Now for Officer Tony. We'll leave it at that. And this nomination was submitted by Captain Blair, who, as many of you know, is the commander of the auxiliary unit. Unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight. He had hoped that he'd be feeling up to it, but was not able to make it. But this is what he wrote. For your outstanding performance during 2014, a year in which you were able to rededicate yourself to the auxiliary police and participate in a majority of the town events. For your dedication to duty and commitment to serving the citizens of the town of Sykesville, you are hereby recognized as the Auxiliary Officer of the Year for 2014. Nick, congratulations. And just while I have him here, wanted to mention, and I was hoping Captain Blair would be here because I wanted to recognize him as well. During 2014, the auxiliary police donated a total of 1,243 volunteer hours, which, using a formula provided by the IACP, amounts to about $30,000 in monies that the town realized, and savings to the town. So Captain Blair is actually the one that probably donated the most hours, and I wanted to recognize him for that. But being the good leader that he is, he wouldn't want to take responsibility or receive the accolades. But they all do a fantastic job, and again, we're very fortunate to have him. Thanks again, Tony.
Very much appreciate all of your service, especially the sworn officers, but the auxiliary, it's such a fantastic thing for the town. We couldn't do the stuff we do without you guys, so.
Pleasure to work with them all.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for keeping that program going the way it's going. Thanks, Chief.
I also thank the chief, too. He's going to be speaking at the Rotary Club in March also,
Oh,
too. So
awesome.
he's getting out on the speaking circuit.
Hey,
So,
oh, that's great.
very good. Practice, yeah, exactly. March,
You
so
got good
thank-
breakfast over there, too.
That's right. Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, treasurer's report for January. Linda,
We have in front of you the treasurer's report, for the period ending January 31st, 2014. And I'll take any questions, if anyone has any questions.
does anybody have any questions for Linda? Julia's already got her
I've
questions.
already got mine covered.
You're good?
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right, well, that's a key thing then.
No, it's not a question, more so just an observation. The snow removal supplies, I see we're through January, we're basically at our year-to-date budget, so I guess we'll be doing adjustments at that point. Overtime doesn't look as much, though. But I guess after we get through February, we'll know more as well.
A lot more as we get through.
Okay.
the month.
Right.
That's right. Mhm.
So that won't show up on the mid-year budget, but probably at the end of the year budget adjustments, right? Are we looking all right on salt and stuff still? You said we were good last time, but now, that was before this last snow.
We're good, all right.
Okay. All right,
That was all I had.
any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay,
Motion to approve the January 2015 Treasurers Report.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, January budget report is approved. Thanks, Linda. Okay, council committee reports. I guess we'll start down with you, Anna. Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec has not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting will be this Thursday, the 26th at 7 o'clock. Anyone who wants to attend? We're discussing what we plan on doing over the summer.
Planning Commission has not met. Our next meeting will be March 2nd, joint meeting with the Historic District Commission.
Once more, we're just waiting on the weather to blow through, and hopefully we'll get started. It's all lined out, have all the equipment.
Okay. And the WDC did not meet yet. I don't know. Well, that's March, so we're good. We're still working on stuff for Warfield. HDC, Historic District Commission?
The Historic District Commission has not met since our last town council meeting. However, we are scheduled, as Julia mentioned, to meet with the Planning Commission on the 2nd of March, which is this coming Monday, here at 7 o'clock. I did want to announce that Andrew Dennett, our curator of the Gatehouse Museum, provided me with a list of donations that were collected on behalf of the her fund drive, her fundraiser drive, or letters of request to frequent donors to the Gatehouse Museum, and $1,100 was raised in donations, and there were a few very generous donations made. One on behalf of Mr. Robert Nelson for $500. And the rest of the donations were between the $50 and $125 mark. So it was a collection of $1,100.
Wow, pretty good.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, Main Street.
Main Street, our next meeting is Tuesday, March 3rd, here at 7 o'clock. Again, continuing planning for the Art and Wine Festival that's coming up in May. Anybody who wants to volunteer, anybody who wants to get involved in the Main Street Committee and the Art and Wine Festival, feel free to come Tuesday, March 3rd, 7 o'clock right here. The Sykesville Community Garden is having a work day, giving advance notice here. It's going to be on April 19th, 2015,
Lovely.
from 1 to 2:30 to get all the community members. All ages are welcome to start spreading compost and prepping the garden for the growing season.
When's that? When?
April 19th,
Okay, thank you.
1 to 2:30.
So that's not huge commitment. You can make that. Just a couple hours, more people will get it done. Okay, for our announcements, on Monday, March 9th, E.W. Beck's Restaurant is hosting a fundraiser for the Sykesville Community Garden. That's what you were just talking about. So 10% of the carry-out lunch or dinner bill will go to the community garden, and the flyer is available. So come on down to Beck's and on March 9th and get some food so that the community garden will get a donation.
The flyer is out on the table.
Great, all right, so that, you can't beat that, you get some good food, and then also we get a donation. On Monday, March 23rd, nominations will be accepted for the 4 council member positions. 3 are for the 4-year terms, and 1 is for a 2-year term, and you can contact Janice for more information that. So, and make sure you vote too. So it's an election year this year. On Saturday, March 28th, the Marion Town Council Retreat will be held here at the Townhouse, and the public is invited to attend. So we're looking forward to that. All right. On,
Here's one
yep.
more
Oh,
that's not on the other sheet,
okay.
the top one.
Which one?
The top about Stephen.
Oh, yep, all right, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, and then on February 9th, in the closed session, the Marion Town Council appointed Stephen Colella as the town's Economic Development and Main Street Coordinator. And he started on the 25th of this month, so his first day. So please welcome Stephen if you see him. We're all excited to have him on board. Thank you for that, Julia. First item of business this evening is the public hearing on the zoning ordinance amendment number 289, the zoning map change. And we opened the hearing at the last meeting on February 9th. On January 26th, the Marion Town Council introduced a change of the land use designation of the Warfield planning area on the town's zoning map. And the Warfield complex is proposed to be changed from business local with an employment campus overlay to a planned employment center. Also, the adjacent 23-acre parcel owned by the Integrace Inc. is proposed to be changed from its existing zoning to planned employment center. And this is Fairhaven, just if everybody's not familiar with that name, their name is recently changed from EMA to Integrace Inc. And they have an adjoining parcel that will fall under this zoning. And this will implement the town's master plan, which was recently amended in a similar manner. So tonight, we're going to continue the public hearing and ask for public comment. So is there any public comment on this zoning map change? Okay. So, not hearing any more public comments, shall we close the public hearing portion of that then? So, do we have a motion to close the public? Do we need a motion for that? Due to close it? Do you want to make a motion, somebody to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing about the zoning ordinance amendment for the zoning map change.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Are there any council discussion on this? Okay, so now we're gonna move into the adoption of this ordinance. Is there any comments on this before we make a motion to adopt this? Does anybody have, from the Marion Town Council, any comments on this?
I don't know, we've discussed it
Yeah.
pretty thoroughly up to this point.
Yeah, okay, so if everyone's in agreement, would someone like to make the motion to adopt the zoning ordinance amendment number 289, zoning map change?
Make a motion to adopt the zoning ordinance amendment number 289, the zoning map change.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ordinance is adopted. Okay, our next item of business is the Board of Election Supervisors. And I'm going to appoint and swear in our 3 election judges. Rebecca Berderka, Jane Banazak, Steve Rajnes, and we're also getting sworn in, are going to be 3 alternates, Carmen McAvoy, Val Patterson, and Lloyd Peralt. And the term expiration is March 6, 2017. So I guess if y'all want to stand up, I'll give you these sheets to read, and we can do them all in one shot. Carmen.
I just read it wrong because it says on there.
Val's not here.
No, it's not you.
Can we swear her in and her full name? That's up to you, right?
Why don't you bring them all up to the front?
All right, so, what's that?
You can bring them all up to the
Yeah, do
front,
you all wanna come up and
Yep.
on the spot, I guess, maybe?
so they can be on TV.
You'll be on TV.
You'll be famous.
So then,
At least in all of Carroll County. So, raise your right hand, and then we're gonna read this together. Okay, so, go ahead, start reading, because it's got your names on it. So.
Do swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, and that I will bear faithful and true allegiance to the state of Maryland, and support the Constitution and laws thereof, and that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment, diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice, execute the office of Board of Election Supervisors according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
All right, congratulations.
congratulations, thank you.
Thank you so much for volunteering. Thank you so much, we appreciate it, thank you. It was that simple.
They're not total volunteers.
That easy back, actually, yeah.
They have to sign them, right?
And then give it back to me.
Why don't you have them, Mayor?
Hands are up here.
I
Yeah,
need
good.
you to sign it. Yeah. And I'll get the mayor to sign.
Carmen, you gotta sign too.
Yeah.
I do.
No, I'll get, you got
Yeah,
a
you
pen
guys
up there?
gotta sign, yeah, we got pens up here.
And Mayor, they're not volunteers, they actually get paid, and they get a, what, free lunch out of it, right?
Well, it's, the pay, I'm sure, is
It's
volunteer
huge.
type pay. But nonetheless, we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Keeping us all straight.
Yeah, and then I'll get you to sign them.
So I heard people did it just for the lunch. That's what I
Yeah.
heard, yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right?
Where do I sign up?
That's right, exactly. Thank you all so much.
I'll get you to sign these later.
Okay.
Do you want to take a quick break, so if there's no one to leave? Or keep rolling?
Well, hold on, we'll see what we got
Okay.
here. So everybody else sign this? Al didn't sign it.
You gotta
He's
sign,
not
yeah.
here to sign it. Okay. Pass that down. Okay. Did you want to take a short recess so that folks that were here can, so they can leave unless the Board of Election Supervisors would like to stay? We could take a 5-minute recess if you want. You sure? Or a couple minutes?
If
No?
you want to leave, it's no problem. You
Yeah,
can leave.
you can take off. Don't feel obligated to
Any of the
to
election
stay to
supervisors.
listen to the other business stuff unless you so want to.
Officers and their
Now's a good time to go, is what I'm saying.
Right.
We'd love to have you here, though.
Get out while the getting's good is what we're.
I understand.
Okay, well, thank you so much
Thank you very much for coming.
for coming and stepping up.
Nice to meet you. Okay. Look forward to working with you. Bye, Steve.
Oh, okay, good. We don't want her to be, I thought there was something wrong with
It's funny because I said.
Now you're down to hard.
So Nick's parents, where are you guys from? Where did Nick's?
We also be there.
Okay.
It's Belcher, right?
Betcher.
Belcher. Where are you guys from? Oh, you're from Eldersburg, okay, good.
Long way
Came all the way,
away.
well, thank you for driving all the way down for the great ceremony. Downtown Eldersburg?
Inside of this house.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you so much for
Right.
Nick. We sure do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, Lindsay Merkel is here to discuss the farmer's market. So we really do appreciate her assistance with this. She's requested that the market start earlier this year and is proposing May 10th through October 4th. But I guess I'm going to let her discuss the rest of this. So, thank
Well,
you.
Oh, sure. One thing that would be worth mentioning is that Lindsay has been the chair of the Green Committee,
The Clean, Green, and Safe Committee.
for the Main Street Association, and has generously offered to help us out with the farmer's market this summer.
Which has been a huge help, by the way, so thank you very much
Sure.
for doing that. We really do appreciate it. Okay.
So I guess you guys have seen the application and guidelines that I kind of put together. I've been getting a lot of emails from the farmers, and actually a lot more farmers than were there last year, about just when it's like getting information. So I'd like to be able to have something to send out to them soon. But several farmers have mentioned that they have crops ready earlier than, I think the farmers market started the first weekend in June last year. So through talking to a couple of the farmers, they said they have a couple crops and like flower baskets and stuff ready around in the beginning of May. So I was thinking May 10th, the weekend after the wine festival would be a good weekend for it to start.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day weekend.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Always wondered why they had the flower thing after Mother's Day. I'm like, that's just crazy. So that's a great idea.
And then the first weekend in October would be the anticipated end date, unless a lot of the farmers had things left over, and then we could extend it like kind of last minute. But I don't want to push it back too far in case there's a bad year for crops or something like that. So the plan is pretty much the same, except there will be more guidelines this year. Some of those, I guess, like one of the main things for the guidelines is making sure that the farmers that are coming are the farms that are actually producing what they're bringing. So in the guidelines that you have, it says that, and it also defines local being a state that touches Maryland or within 100 miles. And I'm playing around also with the idea of not only being the farm that produces the food or crops, but if you have if you're an employee of a farm, or if you are an official representative and you have evidence or proof that you're representing that farm, like clearly showing that on your table, then that could maybe be something that other people could do if they wanted to still be there but don't have a farm that they produce in. Okay. I can answer any questions. The guidelines basically just go over like general rules, parking. I think we would be asking all of the farmers, and I think maybe even employees of businesses here, to park down at South Branch to eliminate the parking issue, and provide more parking for the church. And it would be the same time as it was last year, and I would be there on Sundays, and the days that I can't be there, Stephen will be there to like help the farmers figure out where to go and if they have any questions or conflicts. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I mean, Lindsay, I think it's pretty thorough. There was I'm not looking at it, but there was a line on there about listing the products that they would expect to be able to, or be permissible in the selling of, if they are not the actual growers or the owners of the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there was some expressed concern about possibly not knowing exactly what that list would have to include in May for October.
Right.
So maybe just, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure how that could be worded yet, but I guess the thing that I want to avoid is someone being like, yeah, I'm an official representative of this farm, because they have permission to sell tomatoes from that farm, and then they go to the grocery store and repackage things.
Right.
That's what I want to avoid, so that's why I was thinking the list could be helpful, because then you know what the farm approved them to sell of theirs.
Agreed.
So,
I mean, do you anticipate there being, or do you see there being a concern about an inability to anticipate in May when you're asking them for the documentation of what they may be doing in October?
no,
Okay,
because if you know what your farm grows,
absolutely.
even if even if something doesn't come in that well, I still think that a farm would be able to say, this is what we have, this is what we're allowing them to sell.
Doesn't necessarily mean they'll have it, but if they do, it's from us, and it was on the list in the beginning of the season. That's cool.
And I feel like that's as much as we can do,
Agreed.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, at some level, you're gonna have to trust people.
Mhm.
Lindsay, this isn't about the guidelines, but about the start period, starting in May. I remember last year, when we started in June, it was still kind of sparsely attended, and there weren't a whole lot of products out. What are you, besides flowers, are you anticipating anything else for sale in May?
Yes, so asparagus, strawberries, flower baskets, herbs are definites.
Okay.
At least, so I've heard from farmers. And I can even send out, like, once I know more information and can start talking to the farmers more regularly, I can send out, like, an email making sure that more than not, they will be able to provide things. But last year was the first year, and we only had like 1 or 2 farms last year when we first started. So I think that just from what they're saying that they do have ready now, and the amount of farms, I'm like getting overloaded with emails from farms, so I know we're gonna have enough farms. So
Okay.
I don't think it'll be a problem,
Okay,
but I can
good.
definitely do like a double check email and make sure.
No, that sounds fine. Sounds like you've got it under control. Thanks.
Lindsay,
Okay.
with that, you being overwhelmed with, or inundated with inquiries about wanting to attend, are you gonna limit it?
That was one thing that I have as kind of something to talk about tonight. I'm not exactly sure how many stands the Baldwin's Lot and Baldwin's Road can like handle. So I don't know if there would be the potential of like shutting down like between the on Oklahoma between the intersection at Main Street to the French Twist. That way it's not really like stopping traffic, but giving a little extra space. So I think I need to figure out how many farms are definitely going to be there first, and then get into that after.
And then maybe have some backups.
Mm-hmm. So if that's okay for now.
Yeah, I
Good.
guess we'll see.
So Liz, so what's your vision? Obviously, you're trying to control the product that's coming in there, but you're talking about having some crafts there too.
Mm-hmm.
So what, I mean, 5 years from now, what do you sort of, what's your vision? If everything goes smoothly, what's your thoughts? How does this look?
Well, I
Probably
mean,
more
I
Steve.
think I just envision the town being awesome, like it has been for the
Awesome.
farmers
Good.
market
Well, that's
days.
She's kind of helping.
We're all
I
for
think
awesomeness.
Steve would probably be the one to be discussing maybe the long term, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lindsay's stepping in and helping out
Yeah.
this year. Maybe going forward, maybe we'll have to figure that out with Stephen, because it would be the Main Street coordinator. So I think that was all in process.
But is there
at this
some
point.
thought, I mean, obviously it's changed from last year to this year. I mean, there's been some movement.
Well, the only movement really that it's been is that it's growing, and
Right.
so many people are interested. So I guess the only like hope that I have for it is that it can continue, and
She's
That-
graciously stepped in to help
To
out
help out,
in,
right,
in
till
our
Steve
time
gets
of
up and
need.
running, right?
So we don't want to, we don't want you overthinking too far. We're just hoping you can make it through this season. It'll be better than last year, so.
I just, yeah, that's just the thing I'm looking at, just looking at what farm vendors, food vendors, concessionaires.
well,
Craft
we had
vendors.
that all
Yeah.
last year.
Right, I
Yeah.
know, but then we're talking about sort of really putting the kibosh on the farmers to make sure it's just fresh grown stuff, which is great, but I'm just, if you make a pie or something like that too, is that considered? you
Heck
know?
yeah, bring that thing. I'll buy that.
But, maybe some of the ingredients came from the store and not all from the farm.
Well,
Well,
that's
if
all right.
they-
As long
if
as it's a
they're-
good pie.
It talks about the people that are baking and bringing baked goods too, in the guidelines, and they just need to make sure that they have. Obviously, they can't bring like a Betty Crocker dish and then sell it, but if
Okay.
they're making it
Okay,
and then they're making sure that they have the proper license from the health department, then they're welcome to sell.
Okay.
At least the guidelines say that.
I-
And
I
it was
guess I'm
it
just
was a
trying to-
success last year. All the baked goods. It was a great mix of baked goods, honey, like people making bath products,
Sure.
cheese.
Nuts.
Pickles.
That's
A
nuts.
kid that bakes
more
his own.
pickles.
A kid that bakes his own, like a 13-year-old kid that bakes his own cookies and
Right, awesome.
scones and stuff.
That's amazing. I can attest that
Delicious,
we've gone
no
to the
doubt.
farmer's market every Sunday, and we would buy our fresh
produce and vegetables for the week
Mhm.
and wait until next Sunday to replenish. It's amazing. Thank you.
So, yeah, so the idea is great, I just make sure that we, that's why, I'm talking about eliminating certain things, that's why I'm trying to get a feel for what your thoughts were trying to look. So you don't want it to be a flea market, is the impression that I'm getting, right?
We don't want
Right.
farmers to go to the grocery store and then repackage things to sell for themselves,
Okay.
like as if they grew it.
We're not really eliminating, we're just setting guidelines.
Yeah, and
that
all
weren't in
farmers
place.
markets have them. We didn't
Last
really
year,
last year because
right.
it was new, but these are, like I've been researching farmers markets and these are like in line with what all farmers markets have as their guidelines.
Well, I think everybody loves.
And then
the farm.
restrooms, did we get that worked out for the rest, access to that? We got that situation under control? That's good. Okay, good.
And did Stacy get a chance to talk to the church yet, or what's your thoughts?
I have been speaking to the pastor. We actually were on the schedule and I had a business trip change in itinerary, and so we're gonna have to schedule for March. I'm in limbo right now. The pastor had a family emergency and had to head out of town, out of state actually. And I'm sure we'll be back this week and we'll solidify plans for our meeting.
Because that's just one of the big issues, obviously, the parking that we're talking about, the
Mhm.
timing of the market. Everybody loves the market. We just want to make sure it's a win-win for everybody in town.
Definitely.
That's where we're going.
I think the park
So, Julia,
employees parking at South Branch and the farmers parking at South Branch will be a huge help to that problem.
I totally agree with you. Frank, did you hear what she just said?
You said, that, yeah, getting the vendors to park over South Branch. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, nope, I think that's great. So because I know we talked about the timing of starting like around, 10:30, something like that, was something to work out for the best also, so. But I know some things still need to be worked out. So keep up the good work.
Thanks.
So just to be clear, though, the intention, because the farmers are eager, is to start sending out materials, which will have the start date and also the time on them, as well as I'm working on the town newsletter. So we're hoping that we can go ahead and promote that, and if there's concern about that, then we need to talk about it tonight.
Do you have any concerns?
No.
I have none.
Well, I think that's a concern we raised last meeting, was the timing. And that's why
That-
Stacy was gonna get the approval from the trustees.
No, actually, I wasn't going to speak to the trustees about the farmer's market. My intentions were to actually speak to them about the event that's coming up. And that, in the hopes that with Lindsay being there, that we'd have a format for dialogue. But it wasn't to nail down a change in the time. That was never on my list of concerns, or even expressed to me as a concern that the time should be changed for the farmer's market. Did I miss something last meeting?
No, I
No,
don't think so.
but the issue was raised at the last meeting about
Right.
working with St. Paul's. And since then, there's been some discussion that since you were gonna meet with them about the Art and Wine Festival, to add this to the conversation.
Well, I know the trustees are meeting this week, but you say you're gonna be out of town for that?
That is correct.
Did you want me to go to the meeting if I can go?
No, sir, I'll be glad to represent the cause when I can be there. The unfortunate thing is that what I'm hearing from you is that this is the first I'm hearing anything about the time or the start time of the farmer's market being something that needed to be discussed amongst us.
Oh, no, we
Well, I
said, no,
know
we've talked about
Frank's
it
had
before.
concerns about the
We
church
said
with
since
the
day
timing.
one.
I know, that's been a
We
concern.
talked about it
but
for a
it's-
while. It's
Right.
got a lot of meetings.
But as far as the conversation that I was going to the trustees with, you presented it just now as if this was something that was told to me that we needed to discuss with the trustees as far as changing the time of the farmer's market, and that is not a message that I'm receiving until this moment.
So when Dawn and Ian and I met with the trustees last time, this is one of the big issues that came up.
Okay?
And then we said we'd work with them, and now
Okay.
you're saying we're just gonna charge ahead without
No, I'm not saying
talking
that
to
at all.
them?
Absolutely not.
Well, I mean, I think they had raised some concerns. We didn't really have a thing, no decisions were made at that meeting. It was basically to discuss some other issues with them
Parking,
about
right?
parking.
Right.
When they, had mentioned some concerns with
With the festival,
with
the
the
market
market, right?
rate.
And that's kind of where that left off. I mean, there weren't any, conversations about changing anything or doing anything different at that point. There was just a concern, and we were gonna try to work on some ideas with maybe rearranging the park and maybe looking at some of the time, maybe in the future looking at how we configure things and stuff like that. So I think
I'm going to be
think
there to have a
Lindsay's done
dialogue
some of
with
that
them.
with
One of
the
the
parking.
issues was to start it at the time after the church members had gotten into the parking lot.
Can I
Which
make
would
a
be-
suggestion?
Sure.
Sure.
Does everyone agree with the dates?
Yes.
Because I'm not asking them to have anything submitted until April 17th, that's the deadline. So I could just send them an email saying, these will be the dates, here are the guidelines, and I'll send you the application later with the times, if everyone's okay with that.
So I guess,
Which would bring the question of, are we doing Sundays or Saturdays too?
Sundays.
Sundays.
We can't do Saturdays because there's the farmers are committed to other markets. That was Ivy's whole issue, and that's why she chose Sundays to do this.
It's been
Then
wildly
it would be the
successful
time.
on Sunday too, so I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Well, what time what's the last church service?
11 o'clock. So if they could get started at 11, then we're good to go.
But then they
And that's
get,
what we were
but
talking about.
but the vendors get there early to set up. They're probably there at least an hour early. So you're saying don't start until 12
I'm
o'clock.
just saying, we're gonna talk to the church.
We are. That hasn't changed, Frank.
And there
Well,
may
the
be
way
some
you're-
additional adjustments that could
That
be
has
made.
not
I mean,
changed, Frank.
I think we,
I plan on meeting with the trustees and having a dialogue about
Last meeting
the
you said
events
you'd-
and about the farmer's market.
Okay. And now you're delaying.
Okay, can we move forward, please?
well, I mean,
Wait a minute.
his,
I am not personally delaying anything. I am not available to meet at the trustees' predetermined time and date
Okay.
this week, because something has come
So
up
that's what's going on.
and changed for me.
And the pastor's also not available that day.
And the pastor has been, is,
The pastor's aware of this before, but the key was, we talked last meeting.
I have met
We
with
were
the
gonna talk to the
pastor.
trustees.
All right, hold on a sec, because
I think
Leo had
that's-
a comment.
well, the
I think
last,
that's what the point that we were talking about last meeting.
Right.
And Dennis Hoover, our lawyer, said, yeah, once again, the pastor is great, once again, it's the trustees of the church,
correct.
which are the key. And the church has been very gracious in their workings with the town and a lot of the town businesses and want to work with us. So I think we need, at the same time, need to show the same courtesy to the church.
and I think we already have, number one, by agreeing to meet, and two,
I actually
by
have
already-
reached out to them.
by already planning to make sure the vendors park over at South Branch instead of in the back parking lot. That was, to me, the biggest issue.
But is that what the church said? That was the answer?
Well, parking is their main concern.
Parking is
Correct.
their concern.
So they've worked on that too by eliminating some of the parking. They're reserving some of their spots. We're talking about moving some things, different parts. So we are working on it. I think,
But we're not talking to them.
Well,
Well,
then
we're
how
going
about,
to.
how
We
about they
are
make
talking.
arrangements to come to our meeting?
That could be something too. Why,
They can
they
come to
haven't
the
been
next
notified.
meeting. Why don't you make arrangements for that?
Have you talked to the trustees and invited them?
Well, actually, I think that's a good idea. Leo brings up a good point. Why don't you invite them to
Why
the
don't you
Main
go-
Street
Go ahead,
meeting
Mayor. That's
coming up?
fine.
Well, I mean, that's more of a Main Street issue at this point than it is from the Mayor and Town Council anyway, because it's part of the Main Street Association event. So I think Leo's suggestion is actually really good. So why don't we do that? We can reach out to them and invite them to the, what's it, March 3rd is when,
No, I wouldn't say at the next Main Street meeting. I'd say
Okay.
at the next Mayor and Town Council meeting.
well, do you think we
Because-
should maybe have them come to
I
the
will have
Main
already
Street?
met with him by then.
Okay.
I'm not sure
Well,
why
let's
we're
see how
having this
that goes at the next
conversation.
meeting. Why don't we wait and see how
well,
that
I
goes?
think that Frank is suggesting that we err on the side of being as good a neighbor as possible.
Absolutely, which is why I reached out to the pastor and to the trustees and initiated the conversation. They've been extremely grateful about my reaching out to them and very open to the opportunity to have a dialogue with a representative from the Main Street Association, which is exactly what will happen in due time and in plenty time before the event that the Main Street Association is planning right now, the wine festival, and in plenty of time before we start the farmer's market.
Right, so I think that things are moving in the right direction and in a
Absolutely.
good direction. It's just
Right.
that they're in process. And the dilemma here is that we're gonna start publicizing the dates. And it sounds like Frank's a little concerned about what message that will send to the church because the conversation hasn't directly happened with the trustees.
We got that. So I think at this point, though, I don't think there's any, the consensus is to move forward with Sunday, to move forward with these dates you have, and then to continue the dialogue with the church at this point to try to see if we can work out additional solutions. I mean, and that's really where we are with this. So I think for all intents and purposes, I think we are looking to work with them, and if there's other adjustments, Lindsay can work with the time if something's negotiated to work changing times, but I think, right? I think what she needs is guidance to start moving forward. Times can be adjusted if so. Sunday's gonna be the day, and then we'll try to coordinate with them to minimize the impact on the church, I guess, as much as possible.
That's been the goal all along.
Yeah, so I think, so,
I'm just concerned about the communication with the church.
yeah, and we are,
That's my
there's
concern.
intentions to communicate with them too,
Okay.
so I
have
think,
about 7
I
emails
think
with
we're
the
in good
pastor
shape.
from this past week. There's plenty of communication going on
Okay,
with the
good.
church right now.
All right, well, that's
Yeah.
good. Anything else on that? I mean, I think she needs some guidance to be able to get these
When
dates
do you
going.
need to get these out by?
Yeah.
Lindsay?
I told all the farmers I would have something to them by the end of February.
Okay,
And I didn't necessarily say an application, but I just said I would give them information by the end of February.
so I think we can get that out, though. I think right now, unless I'm missing something, the consensus is that it will be on Sunday, and it will be through these dates. And then the times may be something that can be slightly adjusted, but you're not putting the times out yet anyway, are you?
If the
Or-
times aren't fully decided yet, then I can
Okay.
just, instead of sending them the application, I can just send them the guidelines and the dates so that they can start scheduling their time, because that's
Right.
like their livelihood, so they kind of need to know in
Yeah,
advance.
absolutely. And maybe you could put the times are currently scheduled to this, any adjustments will be, I mean,
I'd go with the minimum
Okay.
possible, so
Do that.
dates are dates.
Is
Do that.
everyone okay with the guidelines?
I think so. I mean, I think you did a
Those are
great
good.
job
Yeah,
with
they
these,
look
yeah.
great.
This is a great job, and I want to thank you for putting all
Yep.
this time and effort into that.
It is definitely a big improvement and
Yep.
addresses issues that I heard that were raised. There was one issue that came forward that I just want to raise, which has to do the question about, will dogs be permitted?
No. That's just my opinion.
How do
However,
we
It's a
turn
town
them
function, right?
away?
why,
How?
how?
That was the issue,
Yeah.
because the auxiliary police are not working every Sunday at
Yeah.
this
Right.
event like they do our other events.
I mean, there's a
so-
lot of people that walk their dogs along Main Street every day, and
Well, I
if they
think the
see-
policy is no, they are not permitted. If someone brings a dog and no one's there to enforce it, well, then, I mean, that is what it is. But the policy is no dogs from the town standpoint. I
At
think.
public events.
At public events, so I think that protects us in the sense that we said there was no dogs, you brought a dog, you were the one violating the policy.
And
So,
it wasn't an issue, it wasn't really an issue, there was
yeah,
one issue last year, and that was one of the vendors brought their dog, and the vendor's dog, like, lunged at another person's dog.
yeah,
But, I feel like most people don't bring their dogs out if they're aggressive, but I could be wrong. But anyway, it wasn't an issue, it wasn't really an issue last year. I feel like we could maybe add something into the guidelines next year if it becomes an issue this year.
right,
Like
yeah.
something
I
more
mean,
strict, or, I
I
don't
guess
know,
we should put something in there that says no dogs or
Yeah.
animals or
For-
whatever.
for
permitted.
vendors.
This year.
for the vendor.
Yeah, we should add that, good point, because that should be in there.
So
Right.
should I say all pets, because the honey guy brings a parrot?
No,
It's just no dogs?
So far, we only, I think whatever the resolution or the ordinance was only about dogs,
Yeah.
right? Or was it
Okay.
pets? Well,
No.
we can, I'll help, we'll double check what we
Okay.
got.
Yeah, okay, so work on that, all right. Anything else for Lindsay?
And you got my comments, correct?
Yes, which I will share with Lindsay.
Okay. And then, I have one, if no one has any other questions about the farmer's market, I have one other thing to say that isn't about the farmer's market.
Okay, absolutely.
And this is Ann Horvath. So there's been some interest in the girls' shelter about different possibilities, merging a few interested parties in the town to improve the girls' center potentially. And I don't know, did you want to say anything about it? I guess it's, what I'm trying to say is, at a future meeting, a few of us would like to present an idea, kind of, for the
Awesome.
girls' shelter. So,
Yeah, we're sort of hoping that maybe a task force could be formed to look at some options. There are some needs that we've identified that, especially related to the senior citizens, which hopefully all of us will be there someday. And this part of, around the town, some needs that are not being met, and maybe some integrating the seniors with some of the younger people a little bit better.
It's a lovely idea.
And I think that the building and that site has some potential. And we've talked about it among a number of other people, wondering if maybe we could have some input in the plans.
Wow, that's a great idea.
So is that something we
Yeah.
could bring up on the 21st?
Well, I'm,
I think
Do
we're
we have
working
some
on the
time there?
details still of that, so once we get all the details worked out, then I think maybe a task force or something would be something maybe that might be an option.
Couldn't it be a
once
topic to
the
discuss?
property is transferred, I think
Yeah.
we need to get a building inspection just to see the condition, and that will help determine a lot of.
We know nothing about the building other than what we
Yeah,
see.
it's
on it.
rough.
So, some of our thoughts may not be feasible, but it would be nice to be able to present them and have them considered.
We're hoping you got a senior carpenter. Very talented. Yeah,
Look around.
sure, but and there are a lot of those types of folks out there, so that's an interesting concept. I like
There
it.
are a lot of talented people around that maybe aren't being utilized as
Yeah.
as they could
That's
be.
pretty cool.
But they want something that's gonna have benefit to them personally or to their own colleagues.
Sure.
It's a neat idea. I think it's a great idea. I mean, to at least look at. So, and I think we can work with everybody once we're still working on getting that all worked out to make sure we have that parcel.
It's a good idea.
But it's interesting, so I think, sure, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, anything else for us?
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, Lindsay, thanks again for doing such a
Yes.
great job with that.
Thank you very much.
Let's give her a round of applause for all that. Thank you so much. Okay, next item on the agenda this evening is the capital improvement. That's what everybody was here for, right? For the fiscal year
Right.
2016 through 2020 capital improvement workshop. So, Linda Joyce, AKA Quinn, our town treasurer, is going to present the overview. And then Chief and Ron are here also, Chief Spaulding and then Ron Esworthy, to answer questions of great financial matters.
Okay, fiscal year 2016 capital improvement budget request. The handouts are, anybody needed a handout?
No, I got mine right here.
Anybody interested?
So, and then these are for the 5-year capital improvement, the larger items that are not included in the operating budget. Just sort of,
These are particularly items that are over $5,000 or that have a lifespan, cost more than 1 year, can be capitalized. Would fall under this category.
thank you.
It is a 5-year plan. Particularly, we want to focus on fiscal year 16 without getting bogged down through the rest of the years going forward. But we have gone through and identified, we have met with the department managers and identified immediate needs, prioritized them, and then also needs out in the next 5 years as well. So I'm just going to highlight the needs for fiscal year 16 by each department, and I'll stop after each department, and then if the department head wants to add something or to take any questions from mayor council. So for the first, the townhouse, the fiscal year 16 budget request, capital improvement budget request. We have a townhouse server, computer server. We have been told that our server needs to be replaced.
Oh, could you go to the podium so they can get your voice?
Great.
Okay. The next item is the wood floor refinishing. And this, we have gotten a number of estimates, and we came up with this estimate
of $12,000. And the next is the townhouse air conditioning unit reserve. We thought what we would do is start putting a little bit of money away each year. We know that eventually that's going to have to be replaced in the near future, within the next 5 years. And then townhouse windows. We've actually gotten, Janice got an estimate for $270 a window, I believe, indoor storm windows, which would obviously make it much warmer in here and also make the utility bill, decrease the utility bill and make it much more efficient heating-wise. So what we've done is split that into 2 years, 16 and 17, with doing the downstairs first year and then the upstairs on the second year. So, any questions on those, any of those? The wood refinishing, I know that we did part of it last year, but there was an,
We budgeted for it, but we didn't spend it. It was
Okay.
not, it was like $2,000, which we can't really do much, and it's, so we haven't done anything. And-
okay.
And we're
So
using that,
nothing's been done.
nothing's,
Right, none of it has been done, and what we did this is actually do weatherproof some windows with the $2,000 this year. There are a number of the floors in some of the rooms are in really bad shape, so really need to be addressed, so. Okay, so townhouse fiscal year 16 total CIP budget is $22,700. Okay, and then move along to the,
Is the roof, has the roof been replaced or worked on recently? What was that, like 4 or 5 years ago, or is that recent, more
We
recent?
just had some minor repairs done,
Okay.
but it's under warranty, because it's a, what do they call it?
The standing seam roof?
Yes.
that's for this portion of the roof, right?
Right.
For the new section. The old section, I don't know when, is there, and is that a regular
I thought that was
shingled?
standing.
It's also standing seam,
Yeah.
doesn't match.
Oh, was it all done the
Yeah.
same time?
No.
That I don't think so.
tin roofs have a long lifespan,
Yes.
yeah.
You just gotta maintain them sometimes. Yeah.
4 years,
Still got plenty of time,
yeah.
we were thinking, okay. Thanks.
Okay, so the next department is the police department. And we have a new police vehicle scheduled for fiscal year 16. Actually, we replaced that a little bit early. And we're going to use our capital reserve this year. And then, of course, in fiscal year 16, we will not replace the vehicle, but we will just use this money to repay the capital reserve. The next is a taser replacement. And current units are obsolete, and they're being discontinued. And then the next is a records management system, and we're hoping that this would just, we've gotten word from the county that this, we would only have to pay for the data migration only on this one. So that would be $3,500. And Chief, is there anything you want to add on any of those?
I'm gonna need you to be at a
Need to have to
microphone,
talk into a microphone. Yes.
Just that the tasers are 12 years old and they're no longer being made. And anecdotally, the officers have showed me that there's a delay when the trigger is depressed. That you can't buy parts or service for them, so they are well beyond the life cycle.
Okay.
The records management system, we're waiting for confirmation from the county in terms of what they will help pay for. But we're hoping, this is our hopeful number.
And then, so we're taking the car out of 17, is that what you said? I'm
No.
sorry.
16.
16. 16.
Okay, we got it in 15,
But
so,
it has to stay there, Ian, because we
Right.
have to fund it.
right. Yeah, I'm just, so we are planning on, well, there won't be, that car's already been purchased, and then the next one will be 17.
Right,
Okay,
mhm.
gotcha, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next section is the streets and roads. And Ron has identified couple of streets that, actually there's 3. And that totals $158,000.
So we're still refining this, and actually, one street for FY16 that we wanted to include was Boulder Court, which we need to add in. And then we also did some shifting in the out years. We, I think we shifted out Central and put in Sandusky. So we're working on some of the stuff for the out years as well.
Yeah, and I mean, and we just gotta look at that, I agree. I mean, we're working on that condition chart, and I've been talking to Dawn about it, just trying to get that, and I know Ron's been working on it, and Linda, to try to get that thing just up to 100%, so accuracy for us. Because, you know, I know we've done some stuff that we hadn't transferred, and then, I don't know, so we're working on the condition thing.
We're working on getting a good working
Yeah.
document that we can rely on each year.
And that's what's most important with me in that conversation, is just having a really good document, so this will maybe change a little bit. I think the numbers, though, for all intents and purposes, will probably be about the same how we configure it, right?
Well, actually, the key thing to look at here is the roads that we want to repave and what year. The dollar amounts still we have to get the engineer's estimate, so these are approximate figures at this point.
Right.
So that's the key thing, is what, when, right now.
And just hope the fuel cost goes down. If fuel goes down,
Right.
it's gonna be better for us.
Yeah, okay,
Fuel oil is part of the blacktop.
yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll move along to the next section, which is Public Works. And for Public Works, we have install a new equipment lift for $5,000. And the note I have here is the current lift is blocks and it works on the mowers and the skid loader. So apparently that is not very safe, so I was told by Ron, right? Okay. And then the next item is a zero-turn mower. And that would be replacing the John Deere. And then the final item in the Public Works is a little Sykes fence replacement.
So Ron, it looks like that zero-turn mower, there's no more projected out. Are we in good shape for a while then?
Usually we do every other year,
Okay,
so that's what we usually do. The guys take real good maintenance on them, good care of them, so we get a lot more use out of them.
okay.
This mower's been there probably about 9 or 10 years now, so it's getting near its expected life, so. But that's what we try to do. It's like every other year I try to, I mean, we can probably put it out, if I can get it to every 2 years, that'd be super.
Mhm.
So,
Is the question, though, how many other
Yeah.
mowers after this one are going to need to be
What
replaced?
she's saying is there's nothing listed in the
Right.
next,
yeah, we're in pretty good shape. This is the only replacement right now for this one, so.
But I
would
mean,
say- yeah,
on the
out-
schedule.
We're probably talking 2 years out after this one.
Okay.
so should we maybe
So we
put
should
that
put
in the out
something in
years,
there
is
for-
what she's saying.
18?
Or at least get an inventory of how old our mowers
Right.
are,
Yeah.
so we can see.
Right.
Yeah,
We're actually in pretty good shape.
okay. And then are you going with all the same thing now instead of, because we had all these different brands, I
You know,
mean,
what we did was early on, when some of the early models, like the zero turns and stuff, had new suspension,
mm-hmm,
and we're mowing 62 acres of ground.
right,
And it's really rough on the guys, so we went and we bought 2 Ferrises, which have
Mhm.
suspension. And they really like the Ferrises, because there's no, you get a much better ride, they don't have any back problems or any of that stuff, so. That's what we're looking at this year, probably another mower with suspension.
okay. Yeah, so I was just thinking maybe it'd be good to get consistency, whatever that one that you like,
Of
just,
course, when we got the Ferrises, it was funny that we have local people that have Ferris, and then they went out of business, so. The only place is little town Pennsylvania, so. But it's the only dealership around that sells Ferris, so.
okay,
But they kinda like the Ferris machine because of the suspension. Easier on the backs.
right.
And that could be a long-term thing.
Well, right, yeah, no, I'm not,
Comp cases and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't wanna get into that.
yeah, I'm with you. Okay,
Okay. Okay, so the fiscal year 16 total for the Public Works is $29,000. Moving along, our next section is sanitation. We haven't do not have anything budgeted for the next 5 years.
but we're Hey, the gonna. pole shed came back in while we're on that.
Love that, you love
I
that.
just,
pole
I'm sorry, I
set.
couldn't resist. All right, go ahead.
Glad you said it, not me.
Are we gonna say more about the replacement trucks?
Yes, we are, actually, Ron is actually doing an inventory of the trash trucks and where we are as far as the age and the repairs, and to see where we're gonna need to put something in within the next 5 years as far as a replacement, but it is still too early to tell right now. We really need to do a good assessment of what we have and the repairs we've spent on them, so. Okay, Parks and Recreation Department. We have 2 items. That's Cooper Park Playground Wall. The present wall was built in 1995, and the wall is rotting and deteriorating. And the next item is the ADA pathway from park space to the concession stands, and that is part of the Title II ADA requirements. So those 2 items there are $17,400.
What part of the wall in Cooper Park? Is it,
Playground area, you know, the main playground area?
Yeah.
If you go back there, you'll see the wall.
It's retaining
Back
wall.
there to that summary.
okay, it's over by the swing sets and
Yeah.
stuff.
The
Okay.
railroad tie retaining.
Okay. Okay, the next section, department is the schoolhouse, and we've got paint outside of the schoolhouse. That amount is $8,800, and the last time that was painted in 2004, and we have a grant pending for that. The next item in the schoolhouse is replace the rotting wood, and that is to replace the rotting wood and window frames, and we also have a grant pending for that one as well. So that total is $14,800.
Yeah, you might want to back up
Yeah, we missed
to, there's no items budgeted for 16, which is what you're focusing on, but I think you might want to just talk about Main Street, or some council members might want to talk about Main Street.
Okay, Main Street. There are some items here, but there's also, at the last page, we have some grant items in there that are Main Street related as well. So, some of the items we have listed in future years for Main Street is Baldwin's Roof, fiscal year 17, Oklahoma Avenue improvements, and remove pavers and add concrete around the post office in their fiscal year 17.
It says awaiting estimate for Baldwin's Roof. Is that something that's actively being pursued, or that process hasn't started as far as putting out bids or seeking?
I don't think we've actually done anything. Have we done any?
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so. I just want to make sure I was on the same page.
Mhm.
Okay. Thanks.
Do you think that number's in the right ballpark?
I think it's lofty. It's more than enough.
Oh, what would be more realistic?
Well, I mean, not knowing, not been up to look at it, but it's a slate roof, and like mine, and unless it needs significant amount of repairs or slate replacement, we're not looking at an entire new roof system. We never will be, hopefully. So I would like to think repairs that might need to be done to the roof. But does that include also like chimney work too when we say roof, or is this just roof?
Probably the whole thing. I think when you do the roof, you should seal the whole roof, right? Chimneys and flashings and.
Right, but it wouldn't be a matter of sealing the material that's up there now. The slate would, if there's any cracked or missing slate or chipped
Yeah.
slate, those would need to be replaced individually. The ridge of the roof may need to be remortared, if you will. That's not the right term, but the jointing at the top may need to be all removed and replaced with new material. And then, and if we're including the chimney and where it says Baldwin's Roof, you know, you could actually be looking at something closer to 20 to 25,000 as a safety net there. But I would like to think we could get it taken care of for less than that.
Okay, that's good. It's just a ballpark number.
Yeah.
Also, there's something about cleaning the slate, or is that?
Yeah, and that would be part of the process too. I have no clue what that would entail as far as price is concerned, because I don't have any moss on my roof. I get sun on both sides,
Okay,
but it definitely is a concern up there.
all right.
Okay. Okay. And the next section is the stormwater management. And we have for fiscal year 16, we have $55,000 in the Vantage Point project. And then the other category, we have $40,000 for sidewalk repair and replacement, put in the budget for each year for the next 5 years. And then $2,500 for replace the generator at the shop.
Before you get too far ahead, so back on stormwater, just real quick. So the reason we don't have it in 16 is because we didn't spend 15's money? Is that
Correct.
All right,
Correct.
okay.
So this, you'll see, I didn't want to move the fiscal year 15 money over, because then it would look like we're increasing the capital budget, when in fact, we're carrying it over from last year. So it's staying where it is this year, knowing that it's not going to get spent until next year. So I
Okay.
just left it there, keeps the numbers the same.
And I'm guessing, that whole thing's in a fluctuating position too, based on what happens with the legislature, if any changes, if any.
Well, what's happened with the legislature on the rain tax won't change our requirement to do this kind of treatment. It's just how it's
Yeah,
funded.
How it's funded, though, yeah, I know, so now that we're in with the county, yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, go ahead.
On the sidewalks, can I jump down there now?
Sure, go right ahead.
Would we have a schedule like we do for the roads?
Hopefully that would,
Well-
we would,
This actually was a request of
Yeah.
a council member, and we don't have a plan in place or any, before this money could be spent, I think that the council would have to adopt a policy about sidewalks or an ordinance or a
So you
plan.
just wanted to have the monies put in there as a placehold?
That was somebody's request, so we
Right.
put it in.
So, because ongoing, so the idea is that we're gonna incur cost on these sidewalks. And currently, we don't have any mechanism in place to fund them. So I think the concern was, that maybe we should have some mechanism in there to fund them if we plan on maintaining them. So that is a policy kind of issue as well of, is the town gonna be maintaining them, or are the residents gonna be required to maintain them? But currently, the town would be maintaining them if we don't change any policy.
Well, no, there is no policy.
Right now, there's no
Well, right.
policy.
So there is no policy,
This
but
is
somebody's
assuming,
gonna have to
But
maintain.
the
it.
town owned.
Yes, right, so that, in a sense, there's no policy, but
well,
if
other,
one's damaged, we're gonna have to fix it.
well,
correct?
not necessarily, I mean, other towns, the property owner is still responsible,
Yeah,
so.
so it's a gray area, I guess, as far as who's responsible.
I have a general question about that.
Mhm.
Is once we take priority over those sidewalks that we replace, do we become the ownership of those? And is it gonna be our responsibility to take care of them from that point on, or is it still gonna be the ordinance where the landowner or the resident takes care of what they're focused on?
We own them right now. 'Cause
Yeah.
Basically, the way the property lines go for pretty much most of the residents that have sidewalks in front of their house, property line stops right at the sidewalk. So the town owns from the sidewalk to the
I think
street.
Ron's talking snow removal and things like that.
Yeah,
Right now, the
Oh,
property owners,
You're talking about
Well, that's
snow,
one of the
those,
issues too, you know.
because the
I-
property owner has to get rid of the he has to take the snow off the sidewalk.
But I don't
By
think
our
that would
ordinance.
change, that, yeah, that
Even
ordinance
though-
is different.
But, and it's, I don't know, well, anyway, it's, again, all these
Right.
issues would have to be
Right.
discussed.
I think you just wanna think about that when we get ready to do that.
Great
You know what
question.
I'm saying?
And historically, I know Anna wasn't on the council at the time, but was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago? This thing had split the council 3-3, so half the council wanted to have the town take care of the sidewalks, the other half said no, let the property owners take care of it, so.
Well, I
That's
think,
why.
I think the point is that we need a policy.
Mhm.
So I think that's what we're gonna be tasked with, and that's something we can discuss at the retreat, coming up, is maybe one of the items that'll be on there is a policy for sidewalks going forward, because I think we need to get a policy in place and then see where that goes, as far as drafting it, responsibility, maintenance, all that kind of stuff going forward. But I think just putting it out there and putting it into the thing right now, we can adjust it depending on when
Right,
we
it's a
plan this.
placeholder there,
It's a
right.
placeholder.
Right, and we can use
okay.
it. So the plan is, so we need to decide by July
Well,
1,
I mean,
guess, if that's
if-
something you're gonna implement.
Yeah, if you're gonna have that $40,000 in FY16, yeah, we're gonna need to
Right,
make a decision.
right.
However, if you put it in the out years, you could defer the policy decision.
Why would you?
Well, because that's what we've been doing all along, is what I'm saying. I agree. In case we're unable to formulate a policy, then we could just take it out of the budget. I mean, for now, until we can always leave it in the out years because
Why
it's a
would- I mean,
placeholder.
Why not just handle it?
Well, I'm
Right,
saying,
yeah,
we'll
I know,
try. We'll see if we can
It's
come
a
up with a
different
policy.
makeup council, so. I think you
Yeah,
could- Yeah,
it'll be interesting. Well, it could be a different makeup by the time this decision's
true.
made too.
that's true.
Be different faces. All right, so I think it's good to have it as a placeholder for now until we can figure out a plan, because I think I mean, so that's a good idea to have it in there for now. Okay.
So the last page are
Well,
projects.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Just to back up, just to see the bottom line on the front page for capital, so it looks like for FY16, it's 378,715. So that's also a placeholder. We're not proposing this as a final 5-year plan. We're not proposing that as the final number, and we will probably come back to you to ask to have some things removed from the list based on whatever funding we have for next year.
That's typically how this goes, yeah. It's trying to put everything in there, and then when budget time comes, we make the
Right.
adjustments based on what the monies are available.
Right, and that's why we took the grant funding things out of there, because we didn't want to keep that separate, that we will do the projects if they're grant funded. So that's why they're on the last page. Those are things that we know that if we decide to do it, we would have to provide the funding. It would have to come from our
Before new
actual
changes,
budget.
just in case. So when they're trying to shoot me, I get a,
You don't want to
clean
get an
shot.
old one,
I
right,
don't wanna get an
right,
old
right.
One of the things in FY20, you notice that total is 555,000, which is a lot higher than other years, and that's mostly because we are still including Burkett Park in FY20, because that's approximately the time it'll need to be replaced. We're hoping we would apply for a grant like we have done for other playgrounds and get funding, but the way that the state funding is going right now, funding for parks and playgrounds is getting cut. So we just wanted to make you aware that that's also out there.
It is important to note that, what Don brought up, so every opportunity you get, I mean, we've done so much with program open space money, and I think it's important to let the legislators know that how important this is. I've been working and talking to them about that, but at the same time, when you're trying to talk about highway user revenues, it's tough in this budget thing to be saying, hey, what about our highway money? And then, oh, what about our parks and, so.
Right.
If it comes from other folks, I think it's important, because I'm always working on that, but the more people that mention that, especially to a new administration, of how important it is, it's really, really, from my understanding it's gonna affect us more than the large counties. So, those counties have a bigger budget for parks and recreation. The ones that it really are gonna impact are gonna be the small municipalities on this hit. So, it's important to mention that to your legislators now. I mean, really, is to send them an email and say, hey, what about program open space? And maybe mention some of the great things that have been accomplished with that money, because it really makes a difference. All right, enough on that.
Okay, and then the last page is what would be funded if we did actually get grant funding. And that is for fiscal year 16, a total of $100,000. And that would be the park lights for $10,000. Clock tower for $15,000.
Clock tower. We're gonna get a grant then, okay.
Path connection to
Like the
Carroll
idea.
Fields, $50,000. Gatehouse visitor experience analysis, $5,000. And the linear trail bridge replacement for $20,000. So as I said, I've tried to take all of the things that we knew that would be grant funded, so not to throw the actual funding from the mayor and the operating
right.
or
Thank you.
fund reserve for capital projects. So, as Dawn said, this is a working document.
The other
Just
thing.
because, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The other thing Linda did was try to compile all the capital projects we've had from several lists, so that's where I think the clock tower came from. It's been on previously.
Yeah, there's some items in here that were kept on here, and because it was at one point or another approved within the last couple years.
To be in
And
the,
be
What
as
is it,
part of.
for the TV viewership, what's the clock tower? What's the thought on the clock tower?
I
Mayor,
Big Ben,
any thought?
man.
To have some sort of clock tower downtown, I think, was the idea.
Would it be on something, or be freestanding, or do you have any thoughts? That's the first
Right
time
on the
actually-
river overlooking the park.
I've seen it on TV before, but I don't know what it was.
So no one knows what, okay.
The other thing to point out on this list is the linear trail bridge replacement. We actually were awarded a grant for $20,000, and we were awarded a program open space grant for about $33,000. But I'm not sure whether our program open space funding is still in place or not, so we're trying to find that out.
Yeah, hopefully that won't be for, yeah, because these budgets, again, these are mid-year budget adjustments at the state level. So I know we were talking about police money too, that has been changed at the, so it's, I'm thinking that the program open space money, though, is in the proposed budget. The cuts are in the FY16 state budget, so I don't think those have been cut for 15. So the grants that are currently in place should still remain.
It's just that this grant hasn't been approved at the state level yet.
Oh,
So we're waiting, okay.
okay. Well, then that could be in something, yes. All right, so, any other stuff on that?
That's it.
So any
That's fine.
questions, I guess, from the public, right? Public, this is a workshop, so has anybody else got any?
Question?
What's the old main line lighting company? Old main line.
Where's that now?
That's under the other, that
I
was,
saw it there.
Oh, at the grants?
Geographically where? I think it's what it is, Al, it's the lighting on the
Fountain Park.
fountain park. Oh, okay. Lighting up there.
All right, we've got that covered in the community legacy, right?
That part was not, we didn't get a quote on, but the Ballard lights in the main, the townhouse was number one, that would be the third phase 3 project.
Right.
So maybe it says in there in the little notes, it's maybe.
That's the third phase. So we're still looking at that and maybe late spring, late summer.
Okay. There's no limit to that legacy grant spending?
We have more than a year, but we do need to spend some of it by the first year. I think half of it.
Before, by June 30?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay. Gotta get rolling. Okay.
okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Well, Linda, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's a
great
great
job.
job.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Nicely
work in
done.
that. Thank you so much. Yes, a good job.
All right. Is the next one mid-year budget amendments?
Yep, so I
I'll
think
just stay
so.
right where I'm
Yep,
at.
Stay where you are, so
I
yeah.
got my next pile of papers.
All right, so our next item is the mid-year budget review,
Okay.
and Linda's gonna present an overview of that.
Do you want it? A copy of it? Sure. Oh, I think I do. Okay.
Okay. This is, thanks.
Thank you, Linda.
Oh, we didn't put a raise in oh, no, that's somewhere else, for the mayor and town council.
Yours, or did she give
It's
me
not
her
a
copy?
capital item.
Hey, Lynn,
Uh-huh.
I think you might have given me your copy. You got some notes on here?
Oh, okay, okay.
I mean, they're minimal, but I don't want you to be looking for them. Thank you.
Okay, this is a outlook right now. We're taking a look at our budget as of January 31st. This is the fiscal year 15 operating budget. It's just a snapshot of where we are at this point through the year to kind of get an idea of where we are as far as really our expenditures and our revenues are concerned. It's not a line by line. We didn't want to get that tedious, but it is just a look at each department. And I will go through each department and just kind of give you an overview of where they are. As of January 31st, we should have a healthy, to be healthy, I'd say just around 42% of our budget remaining for each department. So, the mayor and council, they're budgeted at, their total budget is $77,400. Actually spent, as of January 31st, $38,848, and they have 50% of their budget remaining. Town commissions, the budget is $1,750. Actual spent to date is $683. That leaves them 61% of their budget. Administration, there's two parts to that. There's the salaries and the operating, but the total altogether, the budget is $304,909. Actual is $161,974, and they've got 47% of their budget remaining. Professional services, and that's like engineering and legal fees, that type thing. That budgeted amount is $98,056. Actual year-to-date is $45,533, and 54% of their budget remaining. Public safety, the public safety total budget for the year is $452,024. Actually spent $286,530, and they've got 37% of their budget remaining. Public Works, total budget for the Public Works Department, and that includes, well, that includes sanitation, but not streets and roads, $435,018. Spent $261,568. They've got 40% of their budget remaining. Streets and roads, their budget is $113,685. The actual is $72,065. They've got 37% of their budget remaining. Parks and Rec, $39,650. They've actually spent $13,091, and they've got 67% of their budget remaining.
That was
There's
actually parks maintenance, not
Parks,
and Rec.
parks maintenance, okay. And of course, most of that expenditure,
Parks and Rec's close to that, 67%.
you'll be seeing that
Yeah.
in spring.
That'll be absorbed in the next couple of months.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right, for the mulch and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
you're busy. Is coming up. Main Street, $5,800. Actually spent to date is $11,445. That's over budgeted by $5,645. The reason being for that one is there's a little over $7,000 that was spent on the military memorial stone. That is sitting in that budget, but that will get moved because the restricted part of the budget is sitting on the balance sheet. So it's just we had to hit this as far as the expense. So. The Post Office and Visitor Center, their total budget is $50,385.
I don't see it.
The actual is $29,745, and they've got 41% of their budget. Schoolhouse, $4,120. Their actual is $2,066. They've got 50%. Gatehouse, $24,010. Actual, $10,351. They've got remaining 57%. Parks and Rec, $4,700. They've spent $1,470. They've got 69% of their budget. And then the employees section, benefits section, $442,901. Spent $261,733. They've got 41% of their budget remaining. So overall, if I look at all of these, we're in good shape. Looking at just where we are as of January 31st. Some of the items, particularly in the employee benefits, are paid up front at the beginning of the year, so that's going to inflate the budget now as we look at it. But going forward, there aren't any more expenses. So, And the second sheet that I handed out to you was the, just the breakdown of some things that just detail. There are some items that we know that we're going to be doing budget amendments as we get closer towards the year end. But also knowing that we will be using the fund balance that we assigned from fiscal year 14 for some particular items in particular that we knew that we would be spending the money, but are not actually part of the operating budget this year. So I don't know, do you want me to say what they are?
Maybe just go department by department and see if there are any just
Okay.
say the category and then see if there's any questions.
Okay, all righty. Mayor and council, anybody, any questions on that department?
So that one just has the contingency, just so the viewing audience knows the topic.
Okay. The contingency?
But that's all, just that's the
Okay,
category.
all right. Administration?
Computer software and computer hardware.
Yeah, okay. They're over budgeted. Public safety? Equipment maintenance? We've actually got some donations to offset some purchases there. New employee background screening, that was some new, 2 new police officers. Computer maintenance and computer hardware. That over budgeted amount, we're going to be using the fiscal year 14 assigned fund balance that we knew that we were going to be using that. Training and education. We had a new police officer training. Subscriptions. And then police auxiliary. That's also been offset by some donations to the police auxiliary.
It might be worth noting, just for people listening, that the subscriptions issue is the new Nixle system that the police chief set up to text public safety messages to the public, and we're experimenting with that this year. So we will be, as part of the budget process, evaluating whether to keep it in the same format, keep it in a simpler format, but any feedback about that will help in that decision.
Is that also on the police website yet, or is that on, is it on there? How people can sign up? If not, it might be something to put on there. It's only thought. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
And then what are your thoughts about that, like going forward? I know Dawn said you got us a really good deal on this to start out with, so, yeah, maybe you should talk about that if you want to come up to the microphone, yeah, come on
Mic him
up.
up.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where we haven't used it a whole lot,
Right.
but it's, when we do have a need to use it, it'll come in handy. It'll be,
Right.
it'll allow us to get word out to a lot more people than we would through other means, so. You know, we've only used it for small things, you know,
Right.
weather events and things of that nature so far. But, you know, it has a lot of potential, so we're gonna have to wait and see, you know, come the end of the year, how much we've used it and how much of a benefit it's been to us.
And then for the purposes of budgeting, what do you think as far as the cost of this? Do you think you're going to be able to negotiate?
We can try. I think that was a first-year introductory offer that they gave us this time, but certainly we'll try again to get a good rate. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, because my only thing is, I guess if we get all these people signed up on it and then get rid of it, it's going to be.
We wouldn't get rid of it. That's not the choice. It's just whether we
Switch.
have
An ability to.
basic or the advanced.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
I got my taxes.
Oh, good.
So right now we have.
It
the
is
advanced-
working, yeah.
Mine didn't work, but I think it's user error.
I'll have to
I'm gonna have
help
to-
you get that set up.
Yeah, I think,
Give me
I
that
think
flip phone. Come into
the
the 20%.
operator had missed something. So, but I'll work on that. Okay, thanks, Chief.
Okay. Any other questions for the police department?
And then I know that we had talked about that earlier, but we're looking at some of the police aid because we're worried that some of that
Right,
stuff
right.
that we need.
I should mention at this time
Yeah.
that there, and when we did the budget in fiscal year 15, we budgeted a certain amount based on what we were told to expect. And then after July 1st, sometimes after July 1st, we were informed that we would get additional funding. Actually, to bring it back up closer to the 2008, 2009 year when they pulled everything back on the funding. So we did not include that in our initial budget, and we just thought, well, we'll just wait till this year and just do a budget amendment. The amount would have been an additional $16,321. So at this point, the last we heard was, like you said, because of all the state funding and everything, that they may take that back from us. So while it's not in the budget, and we did not initially budget for it, we were hoping we might get it. So I'm trying to do some further research right now to see if I can get that better pinpointed, whether we are going to actually get the money or not for this year.
And this is the police aid from the county that they would
The state aid,
reimburse us.
state aid for
From the
police
state.
protection. State that actually comes from the
Since
state.
we have our own police force.
So if you know, what Lynn is referring to is when O'Malley went out, right before he went out, he cut the money that was in the state police aid fund to balance the budget. You know, he was trying to balance the budget on the way out the door. So that affects this year's budget numbers, you know, because it's for FY15. So that's why, depending on how that all shakes out with these adjustments at the state level, will depend on whether or not these numbers materialize like we were hoping.
So I will keep you further informed when I find out anything
So that's
further.
another thing to talk to your legislators
Thank you.
about is
Right.
your state police aid, because again, that affects us dramatically at the local level.
It does. I mean, it's $16,321 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you see our whole operating budget is $452,000, that's a significant
Yeah,
amount
for
of
the
money.
smaller departments, I mean, for
Percentage,
like
but-
us,
right.
it really hurts.
Like
And
4%,
I just don't, some of the stuff you just don't understand how they make these decisions, but I guess the money's gotta come from somewhere, so they keep cutting the little guy, 'cause what do we, so anyway,
Okay.
squeal. I say
Anybody else?
squeal.
All right, so I'll move along to Public Works. Building maintenance, they're over budgeted. They actually purchased some new door locks and upgraded the facilities, which put them a little bit over budget. And then the vehicle maintenance, and that is, right now, they're over budgeted in vehicle maintenance by $2,000, and that's, we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, was about the expenses that they've experienced in some major repairs to a few of the vehicles. And that's something that we need to take a look at and see where we are with the age and the expenses of, so Ron is doing further research on that, so.
What is a telecylinder? I didn't know what that
Telecylinder.
is.
That's the telescopic cylinder that pushes the trash out.
Oh, all right. I bet that thing gets a workout.
What happens is that, when the seals go, that, it squirts that oil on all that trash, and, it's not a pretty thing.
No. Nothing about the trash is pretty. All right.
Okay,
Just was curious what that was.
operating supplies and expense, over budgeted by $2,800. Nothing in particular, just that some things needed to be upgraded and replaced. And hoping to come under budget in a few items in some other areas, line items to cover that, so. And the post office and visitor center, the main thing that's over budgeted there was the gutters, the new gutters that were installed, brand-new gutters around the post office, $4,000, and that we will be using the contingency budget line item that was approved at a previous meeting to have that done. Employee bonuses, Christmas bonuses, there's a small amount there. And then the capital outlay on the schoolhouse site improvements, we've spent year-to-date $32,596. We've budgeted $5,000, but that was $5,000 of this year's money. We have $40,500 from assigned from previous year's money, so. And then here's some areas that we know that we will be coming under budgeted that will help us to absorb some of these overruns. In our employee benefits, our retirement liability should be under budgeted by approximately $25,000. Our health insurance, $5,000. Of course, I mentioned earlier, the state aid for police protection, we're hoping that we will get that additional $16,000. We did receive some donations to the police department, $5,000 total. Capital outlay for the public works. Ron, you came in a little over $5,000 under budget for your most recent dump truck. And then the streets and roads came in under budget as far as the actual expenses by $39,000. So there's a pretty good, healthy cushion there as far as absorbing some of the smaller things. And then, like I said earlier, some of the larger things we know that we've already got that money accounted for from assigned funds from previous years. So, any other questions?
Very helpful, thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions?
Ron, for
from
anything,
it?
can you let him go sleep?
Hold on, Dick, do you have a question?
Just one question, and that is, if I heard you correctly.
Well, I think, do we need you to,
Would you
I
like to
hope
come
we
up
can
here?
hear you.
Yeah, you wanna come on up?
Come on up.
Come on up,
Come on up,
Dick,
Dick.
and ask,
Come
you're
on
gonna
up.
be famous.
Nice sweater.
Just watch your step, though. It's a little bit of an obstacle course.
Okay. Under employee benefits, if there's $181,000 left in that line, and it's funded up front, and that money's been spent, and we don't expect to spend any more. Is that what you said?
Some of the expenses, that employee benefits, there makes up a number of different line items.
Okay, but I was thinking, if you have $181,000 in there left, and you don't expect to spend any more,
No, that's not what her comment was. It will more than likely still be spent, but not at the rate it was at the beginning of the year.
no, I didn't hear that at all. I missed that.
Okay,
Go ahead.
We got it.
all right. Okay, it will be spent, but not at the rate it is being spent, because some of the larger expenses, particularly retirement benefit and workman's comp, are paid upfront, but there's still expenses that need to be paid through the rest of the year, and that's like health insurance for the employees. So we will be spending some of that, but we should have a surplus in that whole total department of the 25,000 plus the 5,000. That's,
Okay, thanks.
okay?
Okay. Any other additional questions? Any? Okay, well, thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
That's a great job. Appreciate you streamlining some of that stuff. I think it makes it a lot cleaner. Okay. So I think that concludes our open session items. We do have some closed session business, and since Al's not here, Joey, you want to read the closed session?
Yes. For closed session, the meeting is proposed to be closed pursuant to the state government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 10-508A, to discuss 1I, the appointment.
Actually.
No, I'm sorry. That section shouldn't be in there, right? To discuss 3, to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. So we'll be discussing property acquisition on Main Street.
Before we adjourn, go into this, I think we should owe a round of applause for Ron Esworthy and the men for working their, you know what, for all, the entire weekend.
Yes, agreed.
We saw them running around in the middle of the night and
Can I
the
just
morning.
one thing? My
Yes.
assistant's with me tonight, Mark Onheiser.
Thank you.
He's my assistant. Thanks to the mayor and Dawn. I know there was somebody else on the committee too. Was there somebody else
I think, no.
for the hiring? But we appreciate it. He's doing
Oh.
an excellent job. He's
Come on.
well worth the money. Please keep him for a little while longer. So
Great.
he's doing a good job, so I appreciate it.
We appreciate you guys did it. It was a huge weekend. We
Yeah.
Appreciate all the work you
I
guys
got
did.
tired of seeing your faces in
We're
those
getting-
cabs
We're
going
getting
by.
used to it, Banana.
Right, I was scared about the ice when I saw that ice layer like 3 inches thick. I'm like, oh God.
And Ron, if
Good
there's
job.
things, and Mark too, that we should help you do, like, if there's parking lots or something too that, there's something that we can do to help with, let us know, signage or something like that, to make your life a little easier. Because I was taking some of the tours this morning, different places I know. If cars are there, there's nothing you can do.
Cars are the biggest
So,
problem.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
can't expect them to move them, where would they move them to,
Right.
so.
right.
That's always a challenge to us, like the Mac lot,
Right.
This morning I counted, actually
Ron, can you go to?
Sunday morning, there was, 47 cars in there, so,
But it spent the night, you think,
he
overnight?
had to stay there overnight, so it left a challenge for us, but we did the best we could, and then
Right.
we came back earlier this morning and did some removal, so we did all right.
Yeah, no, you did. You guys did a great job. So we saw you're out there.
Considering the other parts of Carroll County, because I was driving through it, Sykesville is amazing.
And that's what we do.
Yeah, and I have to tell you too, I was coming back Saturday from Annapolis, from speaking down in Annapolis there, and I came home and you guys are right on Wimmer. And if you hadn't been there, I couldn't have made the turn. I've been stuck on Obrecht Road, so they were there and they opened up a lane for me right then coming in, so it was a great time.
Were you that guy on TV with the Prius driving in?
Probably, it was a Prius. I had a Prius, you're right. Coming right in, but I mean, the guys, I know you're exhausted. You guys are out there and you've been up all night, but, at least you were nice and everything too about it. There wasn't, so.
We do the
it's-
best we
it's,
can.
You do. We appreciate
Yeah.
it, so.
Yep, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Thanks again. I really do appreciate it. And Chief, thanks a lot too. I know he was working with some of that stuff Joey had mentioned, so thank you for all your efforts to be nice and at the same time, while we're on TV, working with people, so don't park on the snow emergency routes if at all possible.
Right.
And
Right.
thanks for trying to work that out.
And
I know.
Chief's guys did an excellent job. I mean, they work right with us, we call them on the
Great.
radio and they're right there, so thanks, Chief.
Absolutely great. Thank you guys.
And thank you, Chief, for doing a good job too here.
Great. It's
Right.
awesome.
And the new all-wheel drive car should assist in our efforts on snow days. All right, so, okay, so, is that it? We're all done with the open items, so we'll make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, 5-minute recess.
Great.
It's just no second, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
It's okay.
he said so moved.